Welcome back to Division One Rejects. Today is Monday, the 10th, April 10th. This will be the only episode this week. I'm heading to Baltimore Wednesday night. We'll actually be talking about Baltimore a good bit on today's podcast with Odell signing the one-year deal to the Ravens. But I'll be heading to Baltimore, so there'll be no episode this coming. It'll be Friday when it gets uploaded. So this will be the only one this week, but we have a good episode for you today. Sidney McCloud joins us from Ferris State. Really excited for that conversation. He just finished spring camp with the USFL Breakers. So a D2 guy, makes it to the pros, and now has a shot at playing some professional ball. Pretty obvious grab for the pod.
Yep.
Otherwise, college scene, draft prospect coming after media members on Twitter is the headline I have written down, which is pretty accurate, I think. One of the projected first-round pick, basically just with a lot of expletives thrown in there, told some media members to shove it in their Twitter DMs, and it's absolutely hilarious. We'll take a look at that and those tweets. And then finally, Northwestern just signed the signed papers on their new stadium to sign two different construction companies to oversee its building. And there's actually a lot of public backlash. There's petitions being signed to cancel the construction or to have the city council not approve the construction of the stadium, which is, there's a lot of weird stuff going into it, but the stadium itself looks sick. So we're going to look at the stadium.
I haven't seen it yet.
And then I think they released renders a while back, but now it's like actually coming to, you know what I mean? Like it's going to actually happen. So we'll talk about that stadium, take a look at it later. Just hundreds of millions of dollars going into that, which is ridiculous. But as always, you can watch this episode on YouTube. Don't forget about the timestamps at the bottom of the screen. Anything you just heard that sounded remotely interesting, fast forward to that. Listen pretty much anywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon. Follow us on Twitter, D1_rejects, where we're slowly inching towards 1,000 followers, and on Instagram at Division One Rejects to see highlights from the show. I don't know if I said it. This is episode 95, 5 away from the coveted 100. Yep. And, you know, before we do any of that, we'll get right into that conversation with Sidney out of Ferris State. Joining us tonight, the two-time defending national champion at Division II level. He was recently signed to the Breakers in the USFL. Super excited for him. Reigning from Ferris State, it's Sidney McCloud. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Great to be on.
Man, nothing much. Just finished up first day of game week practice, sounds like, down there in Alabama, right? So exciting times for you, dude.
Yeah, very, very. You know, everything's, changing. Everything's moving actually real quick. So
that's definitely trying to get, used to. You signed with the Breakers a few weeks back, right? And then you already finished up camp. You play Sunday. Like, that turnaround is ridiculous. You just thrust right into it. What is the expression? Like, put right to the flames immediately. Like, how have you responded? What's that these last couple of weeks been like for you, dude? Like a whirlwind.
Like I said, it's been a lot, but like I said, it's everything I kind of wanted, from this process, and things really happen really quick, but like just outside of that, things just like things changing really quick. Just the whole adjustment and being here, it's just everything I could want. Just with the experience of going to the next level, just getting adjusted and everything.
Hell yeah, dude. Where they got you posted up down there? Hotel?
We basically have like apartments.
Okay.
So me and another teammate, Alex Thomas, former Ferris State corner as well, that graduated in 2021.
That's right.
He's actually on another corner on the team. So we're actually signed to the same agency. So once we kind of linked up, so me and him are roommates, and
that's special stuff, dude. That's pretty sweet. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. Now they
take
care of. I thought I read they take care of like housing and meals and those type of things for you guys.
Yeah, yep. So we, housing and food, everything's paid for, so where we can, save money, make money. So it's a real good situation once I really got here. Yeah.
I know it's like because people talk about we talk about spring football. I think the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is the salaries. Like, what are these guys getting paid? And when you look into it, like, yeah, these aren't NFL salaries. Like, there's a reason for that. You'd have to bring in the market and those type of things. This league's trying to get running again, coming back around spring football. But then when you throw in some incentives like that, shit, these guys definitely aren't complaining. I feel like the mindset from those guys, you just got to be grateful, right, down there?
Right. A lot of these guys, like since I've been here, a lot of these guys have past NFL history. So a lot of these guys just really here using this as a stepping stone, like most of everyone. Everyone's here trying, prove themselves to get back to the NFL. So, like, I believe on our team, it's only 3 players that haven't had NFL history at all. Like, so the competition is is basically there.
Holy shit, man. I knew, like, obviously you get a lot of guys who are on that bubble, right? Like the 53rd man, that's the Rocks thing over in the XFL, like the
Right.
53rd dude who gets cut and whatever off the NFL roster. But I wanted to ask you about the outlook kind of on this year, the talent level of the squad, but I think you kind of just touched on it. Like you're one of, how many did you say, guys that don't have NFL experience? Like that's got to be legit.
Yeah, it's three of us. It's three of us.
Yeah.
Literally. Rest of everyone has been multiple years with the team, or had a couple camp invites or a couple training camps and didn't make the team, or different variations of things. But that was the main difference. Really understanding, like, you're lining up and then you really figure out who this guy is. You're like, oh man, like this, he done played in the pros, like he started, multiple players. So
Yeah.
it kind of, it's real. It's real for sure.
I love that, dude. Now, you're a guy that went undrafted as far as USFL is concerned. Now, talk me through that day, I think it was just the one-day college draft, and what were your thoughts like after that? Were you surprised by that? There weren't a ton of, I think there were only 5 or 6 D2 and under guys that went in that draft, but were you surprised by that, or was that something you expected?
Really, I was pretty surprised. My agent let me know kind of like probably a few days before that I had actually got into the draft.
Okay.
And I mean, once that happened, it kind of really opened my mind up to USFL. Really, I wasn't really too really like tapped into the USFL, honestly. Like,
I gotcha.
So, but once my agent hit me up, like, oh, you're in the draft, well, okay, let me pay attention to it. So once it happened, and I didn't see my name get called, I wasn't really down because it wasn't nothing really to be down about. It was just, and the way it happened so quick, like I literally probably found out I got in the draft 3 days before the actual draft.
Damn.
So once that happened, I was like, oh man, like that's when I kind of seen it, like, oh, the USFL is definitely an option. Like, so, but once the draft passed, I was training. I actually had a few guys that I was training with that got drafted in the draft. Just to see that, it was just pretty cool. At that moment, I seen the USFL as a real option for me.
As a legit option. That's funny because, like, that's basically the same story we got. We talked to Chim Okorafor. He's an offensive lineman from Benedictine College. Would not blame you if you'd never heard of it, because I had never heard of the place either. But dude's a monster. He's built like, I don't even know what a pro comparison is, you know what I mean? But just like has the measurables and those type of things to come out of the NAIA level. And he was the only guy from that level to be drafted into the USFL. And that's honestly kind of the same thing he told us, is that he got word like just maybe a week beforehand that, like, from his agent that said, hey, not really sure what's going on here, but like these teams might be looking at you. And I think it's so funny that the teams just don't have a ton of direct contact with you. What was that like, getting in contact with the Breakers? Was it just as sudden as everything else?
Yeah, it was real sudden. Like, I got a great agent, Eric Murata.
Shout out.
Got a great agent. I appreciate him. He's on top of everything. Every option. That's just the type of guy he is. He's a go-getter. So, how can I explain it? Really, yeah. So once he hit me up, he let me know about the draft like a couple days before. I was like, okay. Like, I wasn't really too worried about it. We didn't even speak really after when I didn't get drafted or anything.
Gotcha.
But it was like, when I tell you this, like it's just him always doing his due diligence and making sure he doubles back and follow up with people and stuff like that. But it wasn't until like the 24th of March that I got any contact with the Breakers or anything like that. So really, they reached out to him, and then he just called me one day, because before that, if I'm being honest with you, I was kind of like what most regular prospects is doing. They was just waiting on the draft. So when he reached out, he was like, I got this USFL team that's really interested in you, like. And I was like how interested? I'm like, would I be able to play like right now? Or, I was already worried about like having to sit out a year and come back and play next season. I was just trying to really figure out what was going on. But when he told me that, he was like mid conversation, he was like, oh, this is the general manager calling me as we spoke. So he hung up.
That's sick, man.
And then so then he ended up calling me back, and he was like, yeah, man, like they're really interested. Like I'm bringing you up there now. And then at first I was unsure if I could really play right away. He was like, oh no, they just had to draft. You're a 2023 eligible prospect. You can go over there and play right now. And exactly. So once he told me that, it was kind of on me it was on me to decide whether or not I was gonna go out there. So to me, I just really thought about it. And I just decided it was the best move for me. You know, a lot of guys just end up in a situation where if their name don't end up being called for the draft, end up having to sit out, sometime. So to where with me, I didn't really want to risk the fact of sitting out and dealing with not playing the game.
Yeah,
literally.
I'm gonna say yeah. Like you go out
Right.
there
And
and
then
say you come out and put some just put some awesome tape together. You know what I mean? And now you go back, like you said, now you really have to take a guy in your position coming from a D2, even though you guys have had that prolific success that you've had and you already have a ton of great tape. We'll talk about Ferris here in a second. But if you don't take advantage of that opportunity, right? Like everyone in your shoes, I think should do the exact same thing. I think you're totally making the right move. I'm excited to hopefully see some D2 guys, balling out on Sundays, man.
Right. And then really like my agent, when he really spoke on to me about it, like we like this is the opportunity, to like me being here, and being like here now and seeing like how it really is, the opportunity that I was given, it's really a blessing. Like it's only so many opportunities that like are out there, first off for, small school guys or small school guys in general. So like that to me and my agent, like he's seen it as the perfect opportunity, literally for my situation. So when we really broke it down, we was like, this is gonna literally play out better, in the long run for me, especially me just being a small school prospect. It may be a different route than most others would, but being able to, be a small school guy, get my foot in the door already, be a professional, and be, playing in a game where, scouts now they respect the play. Now, if I go out here and catch, 4 or 5 picks like I did last year, it will be respected, and it will be like literally like my agent literally called me like literally he told me pack everything up. You're gonna literally go there and you'll be leaving New Orleans Breakers to go to an NFL team. So once he told me that, like I said, me and him are extremely close. So once you tell me something like that, it's like, come on, I'm ready to execute at this point. Like I love the game. It's nothing holding me back from playing some extra snaps. So
I love that, dude. I mean, that's the mindset you got to have too, right? And like you said, not to put a damper, like I'm a D2 guy myself too up here at Northern, but to those scouts, 6 picks in the USFL compared to 6 picks, going through and playing at Ferris, that's going to mean something more, right? And so now you just got to go and put it on the tape, and you got all the confidence. I love that. But before we talk about Ferris, I guess I didn't realize you started off at Northwood, and I just got to know, you're a Florida guy. How the hell did they get you? How'd they grab you up out of there and get you to come play at Northwood, man?
Yeah,
that is crazy.
It was a crazy situation. Because I was committed to a college. I was committed to a different school, but I guess some things, Shaw University originally, like my senior year.
Okay.
But I ended up going up there, and I didn't really like the campus. So once I came back home, I decommitted, and I was picking up a lot of small schools, but still no schools I was really interested in, like seriously about going to. So really, my coach ended up going to like a coaching convention, and somehow he ended up speaking to me to Northwood about me, and like from there it was on. So they ended up meeting him and Coach Riekma, ended up meeting him at the coaching convention, and he loved everything about me, seeing my film and everything like that, and ended up going up there for my first year.
I love it, dude. It's just a product of the circumstances. I got to say too, the transformation, the freshman photo to like the last one that's on the Ferris roster.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Hey, that's growth though. That's growth.
Right. And see, what a lot of people don't know, like Northwood, I was like the first 2 freshmen in like 10 years. So just that experience was the experience in itself. Just going there and being a young guy and really being out there playing and being good. So it kind of got me ready for the rest of my career, I'd say. Then being on a team that wasn't as successful as the program I transferred to. Yeah, so it definitely built me up.
Totally, dude. I like that. And I got a story from you of you, I should say, that I need clarification on. This is Coach Anise told me about you, and I'm sure it's true because he's a trustworthy source, obviously. But he talks about how you tore your labrum before the season, went out, got an MRI, said your shoulder fell out at practice in a one-on-one period in the first week. Go to get your MRI, they put it back in, and it dislocated as you were getting the MRI.
Yep.
Any better than that, dude? Like, literally, be sitting there like, what the hell else can go wrong today, dude?
Man, I tell you, like when it came out again, it was a situation where I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm. That's when it really scared me. I'm like, whoa, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to play. Like that's what
Yeah,
really scared me. But
it's real.
after that, once we ended up getting through that, then it was just another thing added to the list.
Jeez,
But yeah, that's a true story though. That's a true story.
yeah.
That's a true story. It was a great rep. I was mad because the Cowboys were at practice and literally right there.
You're
Great
kidding. They
rep
were
on the
there.
slam,
They were
broke
there
it
to
up.
rinse out some of you guys that day, and then that's when it happened.
Yep.
You had to
Mm-hmm.
be double pissed. I'm
I
already
couldn't.
known.
And I
Oh,
literally, I went down right on the sideline, like right there. They was trying to cut my number one jersey. I'm like, no, this is my baby. You can't cut that. We got to get it off. We got to get the shoulder pads off a different way. Can't cut my number one jersey. No way.
oh,
Yeah.
that's great, dude. I mean, I get it. I'm a guy who, I've done 2 ACLs. So I've had the surgery twice, and I know that, the feeling of like, holy shit, like I'm gonna be watched from the sidelines this year. That had to be a thought going through your head
Right.
during that day. Like, what was that kind of day like? Talk about the emotions of that, because I feel like that gets kind of thrown under the rug a lot.
Yeah, definitely emotional, like especially at the point I was with my team,
Yeah.
being a leader, so just, not knowing you can't go out there and I already view myself as like one of the, best players, just outside of that, just being out there to be the best player for my team. And like just the thought of just not being able to do that, like it was definitely a few days where I was just, out there and this was like when I was still in the bubble, like it was unsure whether I was coming back or not. And just
Mm-hmm.
I just had tears in my eyes, just sitting there watching, like just couldn't believe it. So that's what also just drove me. Like when I figured out I could, figure out a way to play, I had to, because just no one couldn't sit out. Like it was killing me. Already eating me up. Tears every time I was on the field.
Yeah.
Literally.
I hear you, man. And he has said, like, Coach and he said, like, I didn't know if I was going to get a game out of him, 3 games, 2, you know what I mean? Didn't know. And you
Right.
come out and you show out through the
Right.
whole season, model consistency for those guys. And then you kind of cap it off in that championship game. You have the pick,
Yeah.
you take it back to the house, you guys go up 27-0. I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, I ain't even surprised. Like, honestly, I really wasn't. And
Yeah.
was that the same feeling you guys had? You had to be damn near, like, floating on the sideline.
Yeah, like honestly, if I'm gonna be honest with anybody that knows, we knew before that game. First off, we were there a year before. We were so comfortable with that field. That was their first time. So it's a different experience from when you go to a stage like that for the first time. Like look what happened to us our first time we lost, 2018. It's just a different feeling. So just that, and then once we really broke the film down, we knew if we played our game, they couldn't really mess with us. So we just knew that. So
yeah, I think defensively is where you guys like. Even we talked about your resume as a program the last 4 years, the way you've been able to continuously make it back to at least that Final Four or even the national championship, and the defense I feel like was gotten you there really just every single time. And not to discredit your offense, obviously they're talented on that side of the ball as well, but the type of ball you guys play, you've just shut down some super high-powered offense, which I think is super impressive. And because of how dominant the last 2 years for Ferris the program has been, the conversation has now shifted towards changing the playoff structure for D2 and how they seed it, because obviously right now we have the regional seeds, and you guys have encountered some of your toughest competition before you even make it to that semifinal match. I think Pittsburgh State and Grand Valley this year are probably 2 of those really good examples, and Division I FCS is a model that people at this level have continuously looked at because they don't go by region, but they go by seeds or rankings to determine those matchups. And I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on that, because like I said, those 2 games that I just mentioned, like, those were cutthroat, dude.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I don't think it's even a secret anymore that 9 times out of 10 the winner of Super Region 3 is gonna win it all.
Oh, yeah.
And I think even internally, after we beat GV the second time in the I want to say regional finals, we knew that was the game that was the national championship. So I think for sure, man. I think they should definitely redo the regional, because it'll just make for more competitive football. And the teams like fair shake is great, but it kind of dims the light of the other, real powerhouses, Northwest Missouri, Pitt State, all those other teams that
Another good name.
more
Right,
so
yeah.
truly deserve to get that experience of making it to the national championship, instead of terrible seeding and this terrible region thing they got going on, because I believe that like those two teams we definitely faced easily could have gave us more competition in the national championship like they did early in the playoffs. For sure. Dude.
It's interesting too because like the model is proven at another level, at a higher level, right? It's proven at a higher level. So I'd be not very surprised if they ended up changing some of those things, over these next couple of years. And obviously, if the Bulldogs go and do it again, then the conversation is going to be heavily shifted that way. So we'll see about that, dude. But thank you again for coming on. I'm excited to hopefully see you out there, playing with one of your teammates too, which is it's so special in itself. I didn't even realize that that was a situation, but it's been a crazy last couple weeks for you. Glad we could at least stop and check in with you, man.
Nah, man, I appreciate you for being on, and I'm gonna just give you a little gem. I definitely like Ferris State to go back. They got all the pieces already. They reloaded, man. So
I love it, dude. Yeah, you got to reload, and that's what even behind you bring back Malik Mitchell, Carson Golker, and that offense is.
Man.
I was talking about the defense. The offense has got to go in too, man. And the way that I always talk about in 2021, the way they were able to sub out and do like a line change on that offensive line was one of the craziest things I've seen in sports. And when you have that brand of football and you can bring in fresh guys like that, the bar from 1 to 2 is right there, right? And it's impressive, dude. So they got a shot. They got a shot every year, man.
For sure. I love it. But I appreciate you for bringing me on, man. Anytime, you just reach out and I'll be able to come on.
I'm going to take you up on that, especially when you have a breakout year, all right?
For sure. Thank you.
Of course. See you, man. Great talking with Sidney. Just like I said, pretty obvious pick for us, getting a guy from D2, from Ferris. We've talked to a lot of Ferris guys, but for good reason, because they have been absolutely ridiculous. You think about it, their last 4 years made it to the national semifinal, made it to the finals, championship game, made it to the semifinals, and then won the last 2. Handedly won the last 2. Mm-hmm. So a ridiculous run that has been going on down there at Ferris, and kind of looking like they're going to keep that same trajectory. Nothing implies that they won't be able to continue to do that. Now, NFL side of things, Odell finally gets paid, and it was a lot more than I think a lot of people were expecting. By a lot of people, I mean myself, because I think it was reported earlier on that he was asking for $20 million, and teams thought that was ludicrous. Again, also agree with that. He gets $15 million guaranteed on a 1-year deal with the Ravens. And per Ian Rappaport, Odell joined the Ravens with, quote, a clear understanding that Lamar Jackson will be his quarterback in 2023.
Dude.
I don't know if it's clear to anybody else except Odell.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna take a lot because there's been a lot of shit going on between them. I mean, he does always Lamar came out and said he just set the record straight and the thread of tweets that he had out. But I don't think he wants to leave. I really do think he wants to stay.
Yeah, I think he does too.
They need to put the right people around him, and I don't know that they've done that.
And this is probably too little, too late, but it looks like they're at least trying to do that now.
Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins,
if he's back and healthy, right? Because he's been battling some injuries.
Yeah, Bateman, Odell. I mean,
you have at least a resemblance of a decent pass catching core. Yeah. So last season, the Ravens wide receivers had the fewest receiving yards, fewest targets, and second fewest receptions in the NFL. That's bad. Now
they had what's his face?
I'm going to say Tyler Huntley playing for a good stretch there. But still, receiving yards from their wide receivers, 1,517.
That's it?
Among all of their wide receivers.
Oh, my God. That's got to be one of the NFL's lowest.
It's very bad. 200 targets and the second fewest receptions at 124. Who was less than that? I would love to know. I don't, actually.
I'm going to say
on this
Titans.
Piece. You could be correct. Yeah. No, you could be totally correct. And, Odell and Lamar have been linked to each other for a while. This is the picture that got put on out on Twitter, and it's a picture of Lamar and Odell FaceTiming, and it's on Instagram. Sorry, #Truz.
That's dope.
I love it.
That's what's cool about the league.
Yeah, these guys at the end of the day, I think people forget these guys all know each other off the field. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're part of such a select crew that, especially high profile guys like Lamar, like Odell, those guys know each other, and they've been around each other enough to kind of get a sense for that. And they've obviously talked about this before. You know what I mean? This is something that they've wanted to do. Now, Cade, that wasn't the only interaction that Odell and Lamar had. They wasted no time to get out and celebrate his boy coming over to Baltimore. You see this?
They were together, right?
Yeah, they're out here, and it says like, like welcome OBJ, whatever. And look at Lamar. Lamar's not having it, bro.
Where is he?
Watch, so Odell's on the left smoking something. There's Lamar right there in the white hat.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason, bro, he is not having it. They got the sign, the glow stick. All the girls come out with their little thing.
Wait, so okay, this is the Bears had 25.98 last year.
So the Bears,
The fewest yards on receptions.
25.98. Those are receiving yards.
Yep. Ravens had 3.2. Falcons had 2.9.
Wait, you're talking about? Are you talking about yards per reception?
No.
What are you talking about? You're
The
talking about
fewest
total receiving yards
on receptions by a team in 2022.
It was the Bears. Was it really?
I
Because
wanna
the
see who has
Ravens,
at least catches though.
the Ravens had the fewest receiving yards. The Ravens wide receivers at 1,517. Maybe their running backs made up more of that. I'm not sure. But either way, thought that was funny. Lamar apparently just not having it at all. They went out obviously somewhere, but we can move on. Let's go. Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright is a guy that, well, for those who don't know, is an offensive lineman from Tennessee. He's projected to go very early in this year's draft. Some people even had the Lions taking him at 18 overall. Okay, I don't know if you saw that. And
Darnell Wright?
yes, and this is a guy that has taken some backlash. I mean, everyone does coming to the draft, right? Like all these guys that are analyzing prospects, all they do is try and poke holes in your story, right? They try and poke holes in your play and nitpick and which all NFL teams are doing too, but the difference is they're not posting it on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are. And from Duff Gleeman here, this is a response to Willie Lutz, I don't know, reporter, NFL and pundit, whatever. And he says, the tweet from Lutz says, Darnell Wright is a pure right tackle and has no business playing left tackle. Should I even repeat the response? You want to do it?
I'm trying to think of a word that I could replace with it.
I don't know if there's really anything, dude.
You are a pure carnivore. What did you play to say anybody has any business doing anything?
Obviously,
just disregards everything from the tweet. Breaks it down like a freaking fraction.
I love it, and the carnivore was good. There's obviously an interesting expletive there. You can find that on Twitter if you're so inclined. But basically, absolutely coming after these media guys, going directly to the DMs and calling these guys out to their face. Not a public reply, a private DM. A public reply would have been hilarious. Now, obviously, it was made public eventually anyways. But that was hilarious. But then, you think that usually after things like that happen, you're going to get some type of public apology. And we did end up getting that apology. This is from Darnell Wright. He said, quote, probably a little heavy on the specific choice of words. I'm no choir boy, but when someone says I can't do something, it really grinds my gears. Language is a little more polished up here.
Yeah. At
Willie Lutz, it's all good. You were probably actually defending me a bit. Appreciate that. Maybe we'll do a podcast in Cincy one day.
What?
How can you go from calling someone a carnivore, a meat muncher, to hey, let's hop on the mics.
I always think that the comment section on Twitter posts are just freaking
they're
gold.
good.
The memes,
good. Yeah.
the memes, and the Twitter comments are just ridiculous.
I'm always afraid because I never know what to expect, but it looks like the agent.
Why?
Yeah, someone his PR. I'm assuming he has a PR person or something along those lines. And if you're gonna be a first round pick, you got someone, right, a publicist or something, and they have to just be hating their job right now, hating life, because they're trying to mop up what is this public relations nightmare. But I found entertainment from it. I think a lot of guys probably sympathize with his position because, like I said, that's all they do. They just pick apart these prospects and, excuse me, for lack of a better way to say it, they just find what they're not good at. Right, they love to point out things that people are not good at. Right. Only the top 1%, I feel really get praised for X, Y, and Z. So I get where he's coming from. Let's go over to Northwestern signing the deal to construct their new stadium. And before we talk about any of the backlash and anything that's going on, kind of behind the scenes, let's just take a look at what the stadium itself actually looks like. they've signed 2 construction companies to oversee its $800 million stadium project. And we'll talk about the backlash from the community in a minute. But holy shit, Cade.
It looks like a
this is like inconceivable.
Looks like an MLS field, kind of.
The structure, like I don't know what maybe it's like architecture or what, but I totally get what you're saying. It says the Wildcats are aiming for a final approval by midsummer. Now that would be like total approval, is in like you've got the green light, you can start building this thing, you can break ground. Like that's what
they went and played in Germany once and then said, "Fuck it, we're building a soccer field to play in."
They really did though. That is insane. Now you keep taking a look at some of these. This is the inside, and now that I feel like
it's big soccer vibes.
Very MLS like big soccer like pitch vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think part of that is the super wide sidelines.
It's the roof too.
Yep, the roof is a big part of it. Now they have those super wide sidelines. I don't know if that's very common for this type of stadium.
Yeah.
That looks like it's
like an oval.
Probably going to be a multi-purpose type field. I would assume
it's like ovalish.
It is ovalish. I think that's part of the weird part.
Yeah.
It doesn't have as very defined corners.
Yep.
Nonetheless, that looks insane.
Yeah, beautiful.
Now, I will ask you, when was the last time Northwestern could actually put this many people in seats?
I mean, you pay $800 million not to, not have it fill up.
Yeah, but I mean, I would hope like the opener, this bitch better be, as Ty would say, this shit better be cracking.
Yeah. I mean, you'd hope so, dude.
Yeah, that's insane. There's 2 more, actually, we can look at before we
start
talking
about
the
They need a good beer deal.
scenes.
They got a lot of people in there, I think.
And we're going to talk about the alcohol side of it, actually, in a second. That's going to come with some potential zoning changes where the stadium is going to be built. There is the outside of Ryan Field. And then, finally, there is one more. I always enjoy looking at the people in these renders. You know what I mean? Everyone kind of does it differently. I think it's hilarious.
Looks pretty real.
It does. These ones look pretty good, actually. I think those are actually real people that are put in there. Some of them. I don't even know anymore because those look really good. But yeah, nice. So they have this it feels like there's not a parking lot immediately outside the stadium, right? Like you go out and there's this like almost a courtyard type vibe with these little pathways and things like that. So this is part of what they're planning, is to be a multi-purpose type center, right? So we can talk a little bit now on the backlash of the residents of Evanston. Now, over 1,000 of them have signed a petition asking city leaders to not approve construction. Now, really not a lot of people, but considering this was just really put into motion, that number has grown a ton since this article is published. And for whatever reason, people are just not happy about this, which is kind of crazy because one thing I will say is that this is being funded with private money. This is not public money.
Okay.
So I think when you talk about stadiums like this, that's usually the biggest concern is that where is this money coming from? And if it's with the Chicago Bears, the city of Chicago was going to help pay for that render that we looked at, the new Soldier Field. Yeah. Now, that would be coming out of taxpayers' wallets, part of it, right? This is on the other side of the alley. This is going to be privately funded.
It's like donors.
Assuming a bunch of boosters, it's got to be crazy. So, Northwestern is seeking a zoning change that would allow it to host concerts and serve alcohol at the venue.
Wow.
So then you're talking about not only just a football facility, right? You're talking
really
about
trying to get people there.
Yes, talking about multi-purpose, talking about concerts, some type of other live events. We actually go through a little bit of that up here, right? The Superior Dome. You look going there right now, the turf's up.
Yep.
Right? They roll the turf up, and for those not aware, the Superior Dome, largest wooden dome in the world, up here at Northern Michigan. And when we're not playing football in there, out of season, they'll roll the turf up. They do home and auto shows in there. They bring in boats and different pieces of houses in there to show off and sell. Yeah. They hold all kinds of different events.
Softball tournaments.
They have track and field, obviously, when they roll the turf up. And I don't think this will have that type of diversity.
No.
But as a concert venue, it makes a ton of sense. Excuse me. And it feels like that'd be pretty sweet. That'd be really cool. Now, currently, Ryan Field is 96 years old, the current Ryan Field at Northwestern.
Really?
That's crazy. You're coming on 100 years old.
That's stupid.
Field. It really is. Now, a lot of history there, right? This stadium is just the latest development for Northwestern, who looks like here has actually spent roughly $1 billion over the last 10 years building up their athletic facilities on its private stretch of Lake Michigan landshore. Lake Michigan shore. I don't know why I said landshore, but $1 billion.
Have you seen the shit's insane. They just built that whole indoor thing, didn't they?
Talk about the practice facility?
It's kind of new, isn't it?
The practice facility?
Yeah, it's new.
You mean this
Yeah, it's
practice
new, right?
facility. This is relatively new, not as new as some of the other things. You know what I mean? I actually was the first camp in this building, if you remember.
Yeah.
Dad and I went there. Yeah. So I was the first camp in their practice facility. Now that is, you're seeing it correctly. That is right on the water of Lake Michigan, which is absurd, and it looks just as cool, if not cooler, in person. That place is incredible.
Yeah,
now
so sweet.
you've got. I'm trying to think so. Obviously, big glass window right there, right up on the water. And then on the left side, you have that kind of wing that juts out. That is their entire weight room is right on that end of the field towards the water. And it's huge. The ceilings are probably 80 feet tall.
Are you serious?
Oh, my gosh. Dude, it's incredible.
Right there? Those are? On the right?
No. I'm talking on the left. See that piece that kind of juts out towards the water and stuff on the left of the picture?
Over there.
Their weight room is all the way in there.
Damn.
Yes. So it's on the end of the field right there. And then locker room is kind of tucked away in there as well. Like everything you need, man.
That's
it's
crazy.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it is really sweet. So Northwestern definitely stepping up. I don't know what the backlash is going to do as far as like maybe it delays the project, right? They said midsummer, whatever. They want to get this actually finalized and break ground on it. But either way, like Northwestern is seriously putting some money into this. And, as far as their football is concerned, it's kind of crazy because they haven't really warranted all these changes. Pat Fitzgerald is still on a pretty long tenure deal there, I believe, right?
Did he sign like an 8-year, 10-year deal?
I think so. I want to say he did. And they just have not had the success. They've been spotty some years.
They're not good enough for us to know.
No, exactly, which is kind of sad. But either way, I told you it would be real quick today. That was about all we had. Brief one. But that was D1R 95. Appreciate you tuning in. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the episode, no episode this Friday, but we'll be back next week with some more guests. I know for sure we've got transfer defensive lineman from Saginaw Valley who's headed down to West Florida right now. Interesting story with him. He's torn 3 ACLs and is continuing playing. So I'm actually, I know, right? So I'm excited for that conversation because that's a different side of the sports and injuries and those type of things. So excited for that. Going to have some other guests potentially from the Division II level as well. Still finalizing those. But thank you for listening. This has been D1 Rejects.